Good to be back.
I'm happy it was only short because I missed
Me
you.
too. Well,
So, yeah.
It's interesting. I've got to ask him this. Have you had the withdrawal symptoms about not being involved in football?
Oh, yeah.
It's murder, isn't it?
Yeah.
He hired, and didn't tell anyone, pickpockets to pick the pockets of his players while they were eating their dinner.
And I'm going, Bridgie, get on that bike. Bridgie, and he's going, I can't, my legs have gone. We had the best finish under you.
Yeah.
The last so many years.
Well done, Kev. The year before they should have won it. They blew it. They blew the title.
Welcome back, everybody, to the first episode of the new season of No Tippy Tappy Football. Welcome, whether you're listening as a podcast or watching us on YouTube, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Sam.
Hello, Nat. It's good to see you again.
You too.
It's not been that long, as it seems to have gone. Gone.
It has only been a few weeks since the end of the Euros.
Yeah, so we had just a short spell. So yeah, good to be back.
I'm happy it was only short because I missed
Me
you.
too. Well,
so
I missed you too.
yes, so we're back. Before we crack on with the new season, we'd really like to ask people to subscribe to us if you are listening as a podcast, as I say, or watching on YouTube or Twitter, X, whatever they want to call it, Instagram and TikTok. We have accounts on all of them. And we'd just really like it if people subscribed or followed. Otherwise, we'll get you on them, Sam.
If you can't subscribe, just follow.
Exactly. Follow us on something.
If you can do both, that'd be even great. Better.
Otherwise, I'm going to get Sam come round, knock on your door and ask why you're not. So,
well, hopefully we give you enough content to expand this season. And we're learning as we go on, aren't we? So
we're getting you doing TikToks this year, aren't we?
You never know, we might get better at that, yeah.
I
don't know about dancing, though.
I have some TikTok ideas that I'm going to try and throw at Sam at the end of this recording. So have a look on there and see if I got him to do any as well. But yes, welcome and thank you again, everybody. So we are joined by a special guest, a returning special guest today.
Yeah, well, obviously it's special because of our long-term relationship now as time goes on. My God, we're going way back to 1999. So Kevin Nolan's on my right-hand side again, I'm glad to say. He's travelled all the way up from Nottingham to be with us today on this first podcast. It's good to see him looking so well. And obviously, without the pressures of football, he's keeping himself fit by the looks of it since last time we've seen him. I'm really pleased to say. So, Kevin, welcome. And I think a bit of our topic with Kevin being here is about looking at West Ham and what the new manager might bring. And Kevin's insight to West Ham is massive, of course. Not just with me, but also with David Moyes. So that'll be very interesting, I hope, particularly for the West Ham fans today.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
I feel like Sam's just hinted there that you've lost some weight over the summer, by the way.
I think he has, hasn't he? Yeah. That was so when I first come back for pre-season.
He didn't return the compliment, though, Nat. He never returned it.
I think he looks well. I said that to him on the last time, but
That's
the tan is very good. Yeah. The tan's nice. Because we saw you in the Euros. You came on one of our Euro shows, but we thought we had to get you back to talk Premier League as well. So thank you for coming back. What's it like not having pre-season? How do you feel? Yeah,
it's been strange. Very strange, you know, when you sort of in it, you know what's coming, everything else. And it felt like when I was at West Ham, we didn't really have many breaks because we were quite successful in the European. You know, the year we won the Conference League, I think we only had a 3-week break. So it felt like we just went right through. We only had 2 or 3 weeks and then we were back at it. So, yeah, it's been nice because I've been able to be at home, be with the kids, you know, spend a lot of time with them. My boys plays a lot of cricket at the minute, so I'm going watching him play cricket everywhere. He's into his cricket because the football season's over. He's at Forest too. He's got another 2 years, so he's there till under 16.
So he's doing both then?
So he's doing both at the minute, yeah. So and then my daughter, she's 17, 18 in November. So she's making life a bit difficult, you know, every now and then.
Can imagine.
as you can imagine that. But no, look, it's been great being home. Nice to be home, being your own comforts. But yeah, you feel refreshed. I think that's what the boss was trying to say. I look well because I feel a bit refreshed and ready to go. You both
look refreshed, to be fair.
Yeah. That's showing. Yeah. Well, because I'm at home and just, you know, pottering about, getting in my wife's way quite a lot. So annoying here.
It's interesting. I've got to ask him this. Like, I mean, have you had the withdrawal symptoms about not being involved in football?
Oh yeah.
It's murder, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you get a relief for a short while, and then all of a sudden it comes. You know, what am I going to have for my breakfast?
Yeah.
Am I going to have porridge or boiled egg, and that's all you've got to do that day? Like, I mean, it's not what you want. Like, I mean, you've got to get used to it until you find the next position, particularly for Kevin. Like, I mean, so I hope that happens very, very quickly this season.
Are you missing pre-season then? Do you still miss it, Sam?
Oh, pre-season I loved. I didn't love it so much as a player, neither did Kevin. But, so all that running,
always all right, by the way.
In saying that, all that running we used to do is gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so much football that people are asking the players to play now, which really concerns me, because they go from Euros to maybe 2 weeks off and then fly to America, China, Japan, and start playing again. And I just think, like, you know, the demand on a footballer today, there's no wonder there's many injuries, and the injury level's gone up about, I don't know what it was. I read it the other day. It's in the 20% or more, I think, injuries. Yeah. So it's a bigger and more difficult concern, particularly for the top boys who play all those games. So
it's incredible because we had Declan Rice, obviously, who's been successful at the Euros, then the World Cup, then again another Euros. So the amount of games, and because we were playing 60 games, we were up there with Man Cities and Liverpool's because we were getting to them latter stages of the competition. So in them 3 years, and with the competitions of Euros, World Cups and everything else, he was playing nearly 70 to 80 games, closing 90 games at some point. And you just wonder with all these lads, you know, Harry Kane was the same, all these boys, Jordan Pickford, all the lads who have been stalwarts of that England squad and team, you wonder where that's going to take them now, because this is going to be a massive season for a lot of them. But they've only had 2 or 3 weeks off. I seen Dec played yesterday for Arsenal, and he's, you know, it's 3 weeks, I think, since the final.
He looked shattered.
Yeah,
in the final.
Yeah, and they all did.
A lot of them did, yeah.
And I think that's what I'm saying. We're sort of in fear of these lads burning out by the time we sort of say that they're coming to the peak. Yeah. Are we in fear?
Summer, by the way.
Exactly.
Talking about them having 2-3 weeks holiday this year. Next year, a lot of them are going to get nothing.
No.
The FIFA World Cup starts in the Club World Cup starts in the middle of June. I'm really interested in the conversations around like rest and in general as well for us all, and self-care and having some time off. Even on pre-season, when they're not playing games though, Arsenal players are always on alert. Or so we've learned. Have you read about this that I saw overnight?
I've been told about this one, like, I mean, so, you know.
So Mikel Arteta, if anyone's not heard it yet, apparently this is what is being reported by The Athletic and some other newspapers. He hired, and didn't tell anyone, pickpockets to pick the pockets of his players while they were eating their dinner. And then at the end of the dinner, he told them to check their pockets and said, you should always stay alert. Now, immediately that starts making me feel, I'm like, God, just give them some downtime to eat the dinner.
Yeah, I mean.
Do you know what worries me about that? Did the police come and arrest him after?
That good, I don't know,
You know what?
If that was a Scouser, they would have.
We've got to pick a pocket or two. If you've ever watched that film, you know what I mean? So, yes, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's one of those weirdo things that I might have thought of. You know what I mean?
Oh,
you know, people looked at some of the stuff I did and said, like, I mean, I don't know. If you just think it's right and just think, wow, makes them alert, and it's good fun, isn't it? Because they're going, whose is this? And they go, oh, it's mine, like, I mean. So in the boredom of being away on pre-season or whatever it might be, you know, and a bit of downtime, and the pickpockets are going around like taking people's stuff. It'll be pretty funny, I think.
That is definitely, now I'm thinking about it, that's definitely something you would have enjoyed that.
Well, absolutely,
It's saying that he did do that because we had what was it, Jamil he was called? Right?
Yeah, Jamil, yeah.
He was a psychologist, but he knew all the magic. He's part of the magic circle. Yeah. Basically, and
you hired someone from the magic circle.
He would work for us. He worked with us.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, and at one point, all our watches were gone and everything else, and he'd be talking, getting the lads up, and next minute he'd have the watch. So we had all watches. He'd done it in one pre-season. But the one thing what always stands out with the gaffer, which was always just, and it was brilliant because it made loads of sense, but no sense. But he just wanted it all the time. Is that he always used to have a day on pre-season where he used to want to just get in your head. And I always remember we were in Bormio when you put us up that hill.
Oh yeah.
And I remember Michael Bridges, remember Bridgie?
Yeah.
And he went off like a shot. And Henrik Pedersen, I've always been all right on the bike, so I was always quite good in pre-season, always near the front. That's why he liked me. So so whatever he says. And Michael Bridge went off with Henrik Pedersen. I was thinking, ooh, that's a mistake. Because we didn't know what was in front of us. He just went, right, you're starting at the bottom of this mountain and you get to the top, basically. And we didn't know what was going on. Now, I don't know if he actually knew what was in for it. I don't think he did, but he said that he did. It was just basically went like that, all the way up the mountain. And I think
zigzagged all the way up.
Zigzagged, and it was just like that. It was a constant. So you just basically having to pump, and you were going and going, and then obviously he had the vans and they're coming next to you with the water and stuff, and I remember we got up and we were it must have been about, I reckon probably about 18 climbs, or like at the level.
It was steep.
It was steep.
It was. It was.
And as I'm coming up,
I was tired watching.
Did you just stay at the bottom and watch?
I just remember as I turn one of the corners, as I'm coming up, and I'm like coming up, Bridgie's walking with his bike.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Bridgie, get on that bike. Bridgie, and he's going, I can't, my legs have gone. He's like literally tears like coming, and he's just like, I can't. And I'm like, get on the bike, come on. So he's trying to get on, and he's going, Kev, I can't. I was like, that, come on. He's going, Nobby, leave me, just leave me. He's like, just go. One of them.
Just leave me, I'm done.
But as we got up, Henrik Pedersen was there, and then I was the next one up, and I went to Henrik, was that hard for you? He went, yeah. I went, thank God you said that, because he was a machine on the bike.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Obviously, all the Danes were really good because they'd been growing up on bikes, so he just loved it, and his calves were like that, man of big, but his were like that, and his thighs. But yeah, like some days, I can remember them days, but just to get into your head and to be like, be ready for, just be ready to see who would come through, who was mentally prepared to go past that sort of, that line for them, and obviously the lads always come through. And then the big thing was in the morning, weren't it? After, go on, get yourselves in the sea, vitamin D into the sea, or the like the lakes where we were, and it was freezing cold, and it was just like, come on, you've got to do it. Everyone's got to get in.
You got to try and.
And then you got to.
Yeah,
and I'll be Faye going, no. And he's going, come on, you're not moving. So it was like, yeah, so it was all just about, mentally preparing you and getting you ready and seeing how much you'll push your body to and yourself to. And it worked for us, because obviously when it come down to them moments in them seasons and when we were so successful, we always were there and ready for each other to stick by each other, which was good,
There's just one that, it's amazing when you sit down like this, because it just reminds me of this story. I don't remember. In Bormio, the top of the mountain was a spa in the mountain. Yeah. Right. So, and you walked in the cave, and as you walked in the cave, there were various pools like mud bath, salt water, mineral water, and they built this platform, right, that went out like that, and it was a hot tub in this, and you were right up there, and you had this view. This went right across the valley in Bormio, like it's just unbelievable view, and it was just what was that time. And I'm sat there with Michael Ricketts, and he goes, "It's boring, isn't it?" And I looked at him like that, and I went, "I have got no chance with you." I mean, you'd pay fortunes to be up here and be in this scenery. I mean, it's like got this.
It was all natural.
This reputation, like one of the biggest reputations for a spa in probably Europe, because it's a natural spa. Like right on the mountain, like you're there having a relaxing day because we've worked hard. And he's going, "It's boring here, isn't it?"
Sounds amazing. It
was, to be fair. But again, you don't realise, because you're in the moment, how special it is to you actually go back and remember them days, because you find out a lot about your teammates. Bormio was massive then for me, because I was like, yeah, I want to keep proving and getting better and everything else, and it just makes you stronger as a person being in them situations. But then he always made sure that we got the best treatments as well, because we had the staff, behind him, who was just as good. His team was just as good as us on the pitch, and it was so important that we had that because that's why we were so successful. I think at times we were travelling and their staff was just as big as our playing staff, but it was because everybody he knew that what we were going through and what. So you'd have your own individual therapist, and your physios will be on there. They'll be jumping in, but they all worked together, which was great, and they had a camaraderie, and which led to us which led to us all being a massive team, which led to the success coming from there. And that was all, obviously, as he said off camera earlier, because he's the top delegator. And
I love that. I love that. I love that. And just going back to the start as well, I love the fact that Mikel Arteta has done something and everyone's like, what? And you're like, yeah, I did that 20 years ago. Mikel.
Give me another one before we move on.
Yeah.
I come in Friday and they're all moaning, the staff, like, you know, he's fatigued. And the staff always had everything planned. And I just okay when we got in, you know what I mean? So I got out. And if we, you know, I said, well, I'll tell you what then. We'll play darts, pool, and snooker.
Okay.
But I said, we'll split everybody up into 3 teams, 4 teams, and then we'll all go around, we'll have a game of pool, darts, and snooker, and then we'll travel down to Chelsea and play. And they go, you what? I said, yeah. I said, you're moaning about fatigue, he's moaning about injuries, you're moaning about he's carrying this and he's carrying that. So I'm not skin anymore, so I'll do what you do. We're just going to do that. So we went down. So I was thinking about it, like, I mean, so I said to everybody before we started, look, if this don't work, don't mention any of this shit. Right. I said, because if we don't get a result and that comes out, we played darts, snooker, pool, and dominoes or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. Then anyway, John Terry scored an own goal and we won 2-1. So we were made up. Like, remember that? So that was like one of those mad moments, and all the rest of the staff going, he's at it again. He's you know. Anyway, it worked. So you know.
I love that you talk about other sports there as well. Like you often find that footballers are so good at like so many different sports. Obviously, we're in the middle of the Olympics as well just now. Have you been? Before we move on to talk about West Ham, before we pull it back to football, have you been watching it?
I'll tell you what I watched this morning. I watched a long-term women's swimming, right, in the Seine. Right, and you know it's a good word because they must be insane doing it. And I think that they did just over 2 hours.
Swimming non-stop.
2 hours against the current, particularly when they're coming back up, like you mean, and they're picking the best spots to do it. And there were three at the very, very end, like you mean. And this girl come from, she'd been waiting in second for a while. I came through, but it was the speed they were going.
Amazing.
I mean, 2 hours on, and she's still like, you know, you'd think it was slow. It wasn't slow. It was like you thought they were doing 50 metres. They were that. And then she finished and she gets out of the water. Obviously, she's tearful because she's won the gold medal, like I mean. And she's hardly breathing. She's doing a bit of, she's not like on her knees going,
yeah, like also.
And then she's just done over 2 hours, like I mean. It's just unbelievable the amount of training they must do, like I mean. So anyway, you must watch the film. It's on Sky, I think it is now, about the German-American girl that was first girl to swim the British Channel.
Oh, okay.
The film. So it's a true story, what she had to go through to actually do it, like I mean. I won't tell you any more, but anybody watch it, you know. It's really good.
Sports film. What's your favourite sport you've been watching at the Olympics?
Well, to be fair, I love tennis. When I was playing, I used to play a lot of tennis in the summer. That was my thing because I was quite a good tennis player when I was younger. But I broke my shoulder, so that's gone out the window now. I play a lot of paddle now, so that's a bit easier. I don't know if you play paddle. But I watched Djokovic and I was so happy for him, you know, just to clinch that. So that was a good moment. I think watching the golf as well, Scotty Scheffler coming, you know, shooting 9 under on the last day to win it was like incredible. And seeing Tommy Fleetwood, I was a bit gutted for him.
Well, you know, won anything Tommy, has he? Or I'd never won anything. That's why I was gutted for Tommy. I've met him a few times as well.
Yeah, he's a good lad, isn't
Great lad he is. So he's from Fleetwood, isn't he?
I've been watching skateboarding.
I watched that yesterday.
See Sky.
I love
get the bronze.
Well, we had
Sky Brown.
Yeah.
Sky Brown.
50-year-old or something.
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm on about?
Oh, no. He was 51, yeah. But I think he's an American, but he's got an English dad or something like that.
Oh,
so right. He's come over and
loved it.
51. Yeah, so seeing her win the bronze yesterday was really good. Pidcock, the lad Pidcock, he had the BMXer. Did you see that?
I've not seen the BMX.
So about 10 days, I think it was about 10 days ago.
Mad.
He's
that one where they go like that?
Yeah,
this is in
the countryside.
All right, so
he got a puncher.
Oh, and he fixed the puncher and won?
And won, yeah. So he was 36 seconds or something like that behind. And literally got himself back. They fix it, don't they, on the side, and then he was off again. And he was 30 seconds behind, but he was a Frenchman who was his rival. So obviously all the French were booing this lad, and he just made this unbelievable. They both went like that, and he just come out in front, and they were trying to say it was legal, but it was. Or if you get the chance,
Okay, I'll watch it.
So that's an unbelievable moment. And
Not
then
the French trying to say it's illegal.
and then obviously you've got, I think it was Hudson Smith yesterday, gutted for him, Kerr, but then like obviously watching Keely Hodgson.
Oh yes.
I mean, to be fair, what she put all the pressure on herself, and you know she's the golden girl, but to actually to do it and to provide the result and do it the way she did, she looked so commanding, so delighted for her.
So emotional.
So I've been like, I've been right into it. I've been watching loads of it. It's been on all the time, and I've just been sucked into it because obviously I've got nothing else to do, and I want to sort of try and switch off from football a bit because I know that when
good for that, yeah.
So it's been nice watching all these different events, and then obviously the gymnasts, like watching Simone Biles. Have you watched the documentary in the Netflix?
I'm halfway through the Netflix.
So
I love I like a sports documentary. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's been just so many good things going on, which is great, and I'm enjoying I've enjoyed the track, but then obviously the cycling's going on now, isn't it? That just started, and watching the girls get the bronze yesterday against the.
One lad lost his seat, didn't he? And it cost him a medal in it. That was a sad.
Did I hear a rumour that you're into pole vault? You like the pole vault?
Likes watching it.
Yeah.
sorry, boss.
Have you been watching it?
Not the pole vault, no.
I don't know where I got that from.
No, I don't know where you got that from. No.
Yeah, so I've turned into a bit of an Olympic fan anyway, yeah.
Love that. I have as well, and I'll be sad when it's over. But I think it's break dancing this week that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So many new sports in the Olympics that, like, you know, I'm from watching it from a youngster coming through, about how many like different sports are now involved compared to what it was like years ago, like you mean. So, you know, about the ones that must have slipped away and these new ones that have, you know, like skateboarding and stuff like that, you know, and, you know.
I've not watched one bit of football in it, though.
No, I haven't.
No, there's no need. We've been footballed out, haven't we, after the Euros?
I'm going to watch the finals. But
it's Spain-France, is it? I think I read that.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And it's Spain, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't watched any, but all the others, yeah.
Loved that. Right, thank you. Let's go back to, there you go. You've had a couple of weeks off from football because we're going fully back into it now.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's start by talking about West Ham, because obviously both of your connections, and also the fact that they have had a really busy transfer window so far, and obviously the new manager as well. So
how much have they spent, Nat? Have you got it on there?
Do you know what? I don't know, but I've got the players written down.
Go on.
So they've signed Fotheringham, obviously keeper. They've signed Max Kilman, centre back. Oh, now how do I pronounce this? Lewis Guilhelm. They've signed Rodriguez. Oh, they've signed Somerville from Leeds, who was like the Championship Player of the Season last year.
I had him.
Oh, of course you would have.
He was injured though, sadly for us.
And then they signed Fulcrook, who is
the German forward.
Yes, and I know a lot of people are talking about him. Other players, obviously, Wan-Bissaka's linked. Other players are linked as well. So they've signed lots. I watched a lot of Championship, and I covered Leeds a few times last year. Somerville was some player though. What did you make of him when?
Well, unfortunately, he was injured when I was there. Like, I mean, but it was just they were talking about him being a standout player. But did he not go to Bournemouth before he's gone there? No. I thought no. It's sad for Leeds. It seems like they're selling too many.
They've lost to some of the big ones.
Yeah. You know, if they want to get back up there, which Leeds fans will be looking at and thinking, well, have the San Francisco 49ers been right for Leeds if they're selling all their assets and not getting a team together that's going to be good enough to get promoted, like, I mean, because they were so close last year. In fact, I think they blew it themselves. But it's you know, West Ham spending now. So have you ever signed that many players in your time with David?
No,
it's always a bit cautious, wasn't he, David?
Yeah. So I think probably Mr. Sullivan's gone all out, hasn't he, in this summer?
Well, yeah, I'll
back here because I think
it was hard for him to go out when I was there. I mean, sometimes it depended whether he liked him a lot.
Yeah.
I had a chairman that if he liked him, it wasn't a problem. But if he didn't know him or didn't know much about him, I had a big problem signing him. You know what I mean? So, but I used to have to insist. Like, you know what I mean, we like that one, yeah, but you don't like this one, aren't you? You're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to let me do what we need to do. But it'll be interesting to see the new coach, because I think the new coach straight away is going to try and say, I'm going to play let's what everybody calls it, a West Ham way. I mean, it's a nonsense, but there we go. People still talk about the West Ham way, but I think he'll try and change and start putting his own imprint that I'm going to play more attractive football than Moyes. I can see it coming from a foreign coach. That's what he's going to try and do. Whether that works or not will depend how the new players fit in with the old players and how well they gel, and whether the players can handle what he wants. Because that is a big thing. If the players can't handle what he wants, then you've got to change it. And if he's not clever enough to change it, and he's too insistent, like a lot of coaches today, on this is the only way to play, then you're going to run into big trouble as a coach, like me.
Yeah. I mean, when you sign that many players, trying to then embed your philosophy and do what you want, and sort of try and change what was already working for West Ham, there is going to be difficult. But he's got a really good base, and by the recruitment now, it's like, okay, where did he go from here? Now they've signed quite a few wingers, and I think that's probably one of the strengths of where we already.
It's a centre forward was the big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Fulkrug's going to obviously take that position. How does he sort of fare to what Mickey Antonio? Because they brought obviously Somerville in, Jared Bowen plays in that position, Momo Kudus, there was already a sort of what do we do with them three,
players
so obviously Wan-Bissaka coming in, you've got Soufal, so look, it's going to be interesting to see what he transforms and what he sort of tries to put into his philosophy, if you like. But sort of looking back at his teams in the past, his philosophy's been similar to what David's was. Being solid first and then trying to play and everything else. But I just think we got to the point where the fans were just sort of, we want to change because
that's what they like.
Yeah.
That's what they like.
And I think that's what's happened really. So it's going to be interesting to see this year, because it's no mean feat what we've done. Keeping them up for them with the position where they were in when we did, and then getting them into Europe for 3 years on the spin. It's
a big ask for the new manager.
Yeah.
Do you think Lopetegui can finish higher than ninth? Was it ninth?
Ninth we finished. Yeah.
It's finishing higher than what they did the year before. Yeah. Which was what, sixth?
No, ninth last year. 14th the year. No, the 14th when we won the league. Sixth, yeah.
To get into Europe, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get into the top 7 now, aren't you? Definitely to get yourself
that's
European
West Ham's
places.
aim, you think?
And yeah, well, it's got to be. That's where he's got to be, because we've left the squad there, which is more than capable. He's added his men to it, so I think that's what the West Ham fans will be expecting. And so will Mr. Sullivan.
We're going to do a full prediction later. Don't tell us right now where you both think West Ham are going to finish, because we are going to do a full prediction a little bit later. With all those new players that West Ham have signed, obviously your experience with the ones that they currently have, we're going to ask you to have a little look at what you think their starting 11 is going to look like at the start of the season. So if you are listening to us on the podcast, we've got our whiteboard back again this season. It's double-sided this year as well, so we've had some investment. We've put on the board with our little magnets how they've been playing, the formation they've been playing in pre-season. So 3 at the back with the 2 wide, 3 up front, 2 in the middle. Have you seen any of their pre-season games? What do you make of this tactical change?
Well, we played 3 quite often. We were quite, with shifting in between games and from game to game if we felt that it was needed. But no, I haven't watched any of the games, to be quite honest.
Time off.
Yeah, time off, and sort of still a bit raw with West Ham anyway. So, but I feel like they've invested obviously in Max Kilman, so I think he's going to be probably one of his main stalwarts, because he had them at Wolves. You've got the likes of obviously Naya Fagard, who was there, who we bought last summer or 2 summers ago. He's done okay.
Where's the weak spot, Kevin? If there is one still,
I think
is everything. If they have, I'm
going to be interested to see what he's going to do in the middle of midfield, because you've got he's brought the boy in from Argentina, and you've already got Edison Rodriguez, and Is it Rodriguez? Yeah,
He's a CDM.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Rodriguez. So you bought him in, and he's the Argentina who's been in the squads for the Copa America and the World Cup. So I watched a lot of that and everything. But so he hasn't played. He hasn't not a starter for Argentina, but he's been on the periphery and been a part of them World Cup winning squads. Then you got Edison Alvarez, who's been there. We brought in last year. We found it really difficult, from playing in Thursdays and going to Sundays. So it's going to be interesting how the boy who's come from Betis, how he adjusts to life in the Premier League.
Who are these two going to be then?
So
is that Ward-Prowse and Solskjaer?
Then you've got Ward-Prowse who was there last year. You've got Thomas Souček and you've got Lucas Paqueta.
There's some competition there.
So there's
some
five
talent. There's some talent.
So it's whether is one of them going to be moved out? Because then if you're going to try and move them out wider, if they're going to play this formation, what you said they've been playing in if they're going to move out, then what happens to Momo Kudus? What happens?
Have they bought Wan-Bissaka yet?
No, rumours still.
So that's not going to suit him.
No.
How come?
Because he's not. Wan-Bissaka is the best full-back defender in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He defends better than anybody else in the Premier League whatsoever, and gets slaughtered for it because you're not supposed to defend us. Yeah. Nobody, hardly anybody. His repossession, tackling and winning the ball back rate is far better than any other fullback in this country. Like you mean, but then still, he can't play, can he? So if he's going to be doing this here, like that is, and I probably agree with that. He's not, but he retains the ball really well. But what's most important, as anybody's going to do. If West Ham are going to do any good, they have to have a better defensive record than last year.
So West Ham have signed Nicholas Fulkrug. Is that that's the right pronunciation? Yeah. I heard very quickly. I don't know a lot about him. Someone talking about him on a podcast I was listening on the way in here that were absolutely raving about him.
Yeah, I think like with him, I think he's had a good Euros and he had a good World Cup, but he hasn't played a lot of minutes in them. He's been a sort of an impact for Germany, but his record speaks for itself because I think he's got. When I was looking at it, I think he's like 13 and 21 or something like that for Germany. Yeah. Obviously, in the last few years, but he was at Werder Bremen where he scored quite a few goals and then went to Borussia Dortmund last year, scored 12 goals and was a big part of them getting to the final. But I'm just the thing is what I always have is when you bring a lot of the lads from Germany or Spain, Italy, we've seen it. We had Seb Haller at West Ham and we sold him to Borussia Dortmund and he went on to Borussia Dortmund, scored a lot of goals and done really well. So is he going to be? Don't get me wrong, he's riding the crest of a wave with goals and his seasons what he's had.
Couldn't do it at West Ham,
but he could. But struggled at West Ham. So, and the same with the Italian lad Gianluca Scamacca, good lad, great lad, wanted to come, knew what it took, knew that he was going to have to get physically stronger, physically better, but it just, in the end, it was a lot of behind the scenes with his family. He missed his family. He was a young lad still, missed home, wanted to be back in Italy, and he struggled. So it's going to be interesting, but he's a bit older. Fulkrug, I think he's 31. Yeah. So been around the block, sort of had the best years of his career, like sort of 27, 28, 29, 30 coming up in the last 3 or 4 years. They've been his best goal scoring years. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can hit the ground running because that's a big thing. Mm-hmm. You've got to hit the ground running when you go and play for West Ham. You've got to do it quite quickly because then you'll get them on side quicker and then you'll have time to sort of settle in. So it's going to. I really think the biggest thing you've got them set up in a 5-4-1, 5-2-3, however you work 3-4-3, however you want to look at it. But I really feel that the midfield is going to dictate because he's got too many big players who he's got. So I think it'll probably end up being a back four, what he starts with.
Here's a question. Who's the player liaison officer at West Ham now? Have they got one?
Yeah, they've got like a player care team now. Yeah.
Have they a care team now? Because they're the most important now.
Mm.
I'm looking forward to seeing where you predict them finishing, which we're going to do in just a second. So, podcast listeners, we are going to take a little break. You won't know any difference if you're watching on YouTube. We are going to flip the board. So, give us a second. So, what was 1 second for you was actually about 25 minutes here in the studio because apparently it's really difficult to flip a board. But we have flipped the board. So, if you are listening on the podcast, we will talk you through what the YouTubers can see now. So here is our whiteboard and we've got category A, B, C, D and E. So A is who Kevin and Sam think will be champions. B is teams that will finish in Europe. C is mid-tablers. D, bottom half of the table. And E is relegation. So, first of all, as well, on the European places, God knows how many European places we have at the end of the year. It depends on who wins the FA Cup, who wins the League Cup. Yep.
Carabao Cup.
So
Carabao Cup.
you're Carling. I'm always
yeah.
interested on what people call the League Cup. So you're still Carling. What are you, Kev?
Well, I'm Carabao, aren't I?
You're Carabao.
So.
I think I'm Carling, you know. I think I still call it Carling.
I actually did still call it Carling, I think, off air, because it's just as we know, we got to the Carling Cup final, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So here we go. Do you want to start at the top or the bottom, gents?
Well, I'll start at the top because it's just the basis of upsetting you, Nat. Really. You know?
Well done, Sam.
And I think that I just think that it's 4 on the trot, never been done before, and I think that they've got so much more pressure on them every time it goes on to make it 5 now, and the effort it needs to put into that. And what they've been through, and lots of players have been through in the Euros, you know, as well as doing 4 titles on the trot. You know, talking to Sir Alex over the years about the hardest things always after the first one is the next one, and very, very few people do back to back. So to do 3 and then for somebody to do 4. It's even more motivation needed to do 5, and of course, if they've sold Alvarez and they don't replace him, I just think that's a bit of a blow for Man City. I understand that 82 million in profit when they spent about 15 million is phenomenal, like you mean. So it'd be interesting to see what that brings. But I also think Arsenal have been growing in the last 2-3 seasons. And they come very close last year, but the year before they should have won it, and they blew it. They blew the title. So I think this time the squad has got better. They've added more additions to the squad, and so we'll bring Man City closer. So that's why I've just picked Arsenal over Man City.
What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I'm sort of in agreement that I think Arsenal could go one better this year because of the experience they've got now. I think he's got a more settled squad. We were talking earlier and we were saying about how they share the goals about. So it's going to be interesting if Arteta does get that number 9. You know, he's talking about maybe adding, but he's not in no rush and he wants to see how it goes and see where the pre-season takes him. And I think Man City, obviously doing 4 to get to 5 is going to be unbelievable. So, you know, that pressure builds. I think Pep being in this...
Have they bought anybody, Man City? Have they?
There's a Brazilian player called Silvinho that they've bought, who's a winger, a fast, pacey, likes to run with the ball winger. That's it, though.
Yeah.
And there's no other rumours of anybody else.
Not at the minute. But I think...
Calvin Phillips still there?
He is.
Yeah. He's been playing a bit of pre-season, hasn't he? But I think with Man City too, you've got Pep going into his last season. So... that makes...
Hopefully not.
Well, he said he might want to stay, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Unless somebody else said it on his behalf.
No, he said in the press conference that I watched live that he hopes to still be the manager for the Club World Cup next year, which would take him beyond his current contract.
I mean, that's interesting for me because I think sort of when you know Pep's like he leaves it, doesn't he? But I mean, can he work out a contract that he manages them into the Club World Cup? Is that possible? I don't know, but you know, him going into his final year, he's never really done that, has he? And I think sometimes, and it happened when the boss, when you get into your final year, you know, and I remember being last year, you know, being at West Ham when they knew it was David's last year, everyone starts to get a bit jittery, and players are like, well, who's the next man? Who's coming in? Who's this? You know, what's happening? Is it what's going on? Is the board? Okay. You know, so a lot of players were asking us as coaches, what's going on? Have you heard anything from the gaffer? Do you know anything? And we're like, no, we're none of the wiser.
I mean, West Ham plays the wrong game, David.
I think the difference is, though, I think it's all in Pep's hand. You know what I mean? It's totally different. I think.
Absolutely, totally different. He's got the full.
What I'm saying is that if he doesn't come out and go, no, look, lads, I'm here for another 3 years. What did the lads think? You know, because it raises doubt. Oh, well, he's not going to be here next season. So do we have to? You know, we don't really have. do we have to go and win a fifth one, or do we wait? And if you're not playing, do you fight for the place that? And look, they're all winners, so I'm just giving sort of theoreticals really, and
Yeah,
just
it's a big ask for Arsenal, but because when you look at the last couple of seasons, you've got to go the last 15 games without losing to win it.
Yeah.
More or less, haven't you?
And you think Alvarez would be a big loss to City if he goes to
I do,
Madrid?
yeah. Because, I think he's down the middle, number 10, wide right, wide left. He slots into those spots, like you mean. So
he scored important goals for them at important times.
But it depends who the replacement's going to be. There has to be a replacement, like you mean. And for me, there has to be a replacement, for all the games Man City are going to be playing in. Because even though they were saying Alvarez didn't play that much, he probably played 30 games.
He played, I double-checked before we came on, of any outfield player, he played the 4th most minutes. So Rodri, Walker and Foden are the only outfield players that played more minutes than him.
So there you go. So he's moved on, so...
If he does, yeah. But it looks like it, yeah.
Looks like he wants to as well.
Yeah.
Reading between the lines, so...
Yeah, well, he didn't play in the FA Cup final.
No.
Well, I think he came on as a sub. He didn't start in the FA Cup final, didn't start in the Championship.
Yeah, I think he wants to be the number 9, doesn't he? He wants to be the one. He wants to be the main man. He's been that when he joined, when he's come, he sort of waited for that, but then Haaland's come and just sort of took everything by storm. So he's sort of waiting in the wings behind him unless they play with a 2. And he wants to be that 9. So I think that's why he's probably pushing for it as more. And that's why he wanted to go to Copa America, which I don't think Man City were too quite keen with, but they've allowed them to do it. So I think that's why it's going to happen. If seeing it from an outsider's point of view, but
he'll be missed, but it's a heck of a lot of profit to make for 2 years.
So, do you say Pep might be keen on playing this club championship, staying on?
Yeah, that's what he said in his press conference. Yeah, he wants to manage it.
It's a bit reverse of what he normally is, though, isn't it? Because he normally says the players are shattered, like you mean. So now you're giving them another competition on top.
Oh, he's still saying the players are shattered.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a bit like
yeah. He's one of those.
Unlike him, isn't it? Like
we've got to do it.
Or
we want to win it.
or the fact of his own putting the first world club title on his CV would be his ultimate motivation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's
why
true.
He's saying it. I think
that's so true.
Look at me,
Yeah. Talk about replacing Alvarez quickly before we move on to the other clubs that you think will finish in Europe. How do you replace Alvarez? There is, if you're thinking that you need another goal scorer essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, who's out there? Ivan Toney's being linked with everybody. Is that ridiculous to even suggest that City would look at him?
I just don't think so. It's just, I'm just not sure. But Ivan Toney wants to move to Man City to be not the number 1. If what is he, 28?
Yeah, be around that now. Yeah,
somewhere around that. If he's moving now, you've got to move to be number 1.
Yeah.
It's would be better West Ham bought him.
Yeah. Spurs have been linked as well, haven't they?
I mean, so,
well, Arsenal was linked heavily with them, weren't they, in the 100 millions, and now they've gone really quiet. So whether something's going on in the background and that's going to happen, I can't see him at Man City because of the Ireland situation.
Man United could have done with him.
Definitely, yeah.
So no doubt about it.
It's going to be interesting, yes, to see who they do replace him with. But Pep always finds a gem, doesn't he? I mean, Alvarez. I mean, to be fair, we've done a lot of work on Alvarez. The season he signed for us, we've done a lot of work on leading up to it. And one of the first things I said when I said he's a Man City player right away, was like when obviously the boss said, "What do you think?" I just said he's a Man City player for me, because he just looked the part even over,
So did you wait too long before you bid?
Yeah, so I think for me he was probably a bit too slight, and what we needed was someone, a bit bigger up front, because he was on his own, but he adapted fantastically well, but he was given the opportunity to adapt because of how Man City are and what they do.
Phenomenal player, will be missed at City, but City will adapt as they always do.
So we're going to Liverpool, Chelsea.
Do you think it's Arsenal, City is your top 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And then talk to me through your next few places.
Well, it might, in the first season, it might be a bit much for Liverpool. Third might be, but it's just that the other 3 had Tottenham had a fantastic start, but then faded away. I don't see what they've bought in the transfer market to make them any better just yet. There's not a lot of time left, is there?
They've been linked with a lot, haven't they? They've been linked. Tottenham been linked with a lot,
but it's always the same with Daniel.
Not really, not really got over the line with
Daniel will ring you up and say, like, I mean, you know, come on, let's do a bit of business. Like, he rang me up over Scott Park, I don't know how many times. Like, I just said, look, if you don't pay the money, you ain't going to get him.
Yeah.
He always thinks he's going to get a bargain at the end, you know. So that's be Tottenham, which will be driving the manager mad. Chelsea have like ripping a few out and putting a few back in again. I think they made the wrong decision in sacking Pochettino, because I thought his back end of the season was top 3 points collected. So what went on there is clearly a clash of what was needed. So Poch paid the price for that, because he obviously didn't listen to him, and I think that now that Ten Hag's been settled, it's going to be interesting to see whether he's able to get Man United where they need to go. So
I think
Chelsea's new manager. So it's an hard one. Them
four are probably, it's mad. Because even Liverpool, I put with obviously the new manager. I know he's had a positive effect. How can you replace him? Everything, I mean,
like every other manager that's been there a long time, like, you know.
So after 9 years, the Jurgen Klopp era, I should say, you know, Arne Slot coming in, and everything's been very positive. But, you know, is he going to get time if he loses us, you know, a couple of games early on? Same with Chelsea with Maresca, same with Ten Hag at Man United. And I feel that probably the same with Ange at Tottenham. Because
he sounded fed up at the end of the year, didn't he?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
He was talking like not as bad as Antonio Conte, because nobody goes bad as Antonio. Like, you know, it was a brilliant interview that was. But he started showing his frustration over Tottenham's lack of looks like investment, quality of player,
ambition and investment.
You know what I mean? Which is always stopped them winning.
And the biggest thing too, so even going away from Tottenham, go to Man United, Erik Ten Hag, you know, there was a lot of talk about Gareth and Manchester United and Ineos and the relationship he has with all the Ineos group. So it's going to be interesting if he does go through that sort of patches like what he did, and there was patches of bad runs from them. Are they going to jump?
It depends whether the players are on side with him or not.
Yeah.
I just had a sneaky suspicion the back end of last season he lost a few players.
Yeah.
And I think that was his key element in terms of you know, the trust between the manager and the players and the backroom staff is an absolute must if you're going to be finishing in any position in the Premier League that you know that you surprise people with. If you're going to surprise people, like, I mean, if Man United are going to surprise somebody now if they finish first or second, it's going to be a massive surprise, like, I mean. But if you're all on board and they sign the right players and you get the unity, it looks like they might have lost a bit of unity, like, I mean.
Okay, so City and Arsenal battling, City second you've got, and then Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, United.
I actually think, sorry Nata, before, I think Newcastle can break into that 4, by the way. Because I think because they had the Champions League last year, they had all them injuries, they have strengthened and look like they're going to strengthen.
So where are you going to put him?
I would put him in. I would put them in
no
that mix.
No sitting allowed.
No, I'll put them in the mix.
Sam, you're gonna.
I would put Tottenham, Chelsea, or Man United.
I would say
Liverpool?
I would put them where Chelsea is.
Right.
4th.
Yeah. I think they're going to get back Champions League.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
because they haven't got the pressures of a Champions League yet.
They haven't got Europe this year.
And they haven't got Europe at all.
No.
So Chelsea on the edge of the top 6.
I'd say I'd say it's between them and Man United. So yeah.
Okay.
I'd leave it like that. Yeah, boss.
Okay.
There we go.
Love it. Okay, so then we're dropping down into the teams that are going to be top half, but not in Europe.
And Villa, Fulham, West Ham. We've got. You mean?
Villa, Fulham, and then West Ham, which is so many interesting things. So first of all, Villa, you think are going to drop from 4th? Is that because of the pressures of playing in Europe?
Yeah, Champions Leagues. We did a lot of research when we got to the Europa Cup, which is the very same concept. Apart from you play on a Thursday and a Sunday rather than on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and that we found that quite difficult, but we still managed to do what the board wanted us to do, and that was finish about 8th or 9th in the Premier League. But it did take its toll on the results in the Premier League.
And there's more Champions League games this year as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, with these teams, and obviously Unai Emery's been in it before. He understands it, but a lot of the players haven't. So he's done an incredible job off Villa. And it's hard because you've got a lot of teams there who have been there and done it and everything else. But
they just sold as well for a lot of money.
Diaby,
yeah.
So they only had him for one season, didn't they?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying about Aston Villa is this financial fair play rubbish, which I think, I talk about the rubbish that I think it is. They were told to sell, was it Douglas Luiz, was it?
He's gone to Juventus, yeah.
Because of the financial, they had to sell him in that period of time.
Yeah, before
to make the finances right. I mean, and they're getting in the Champions League for the first time. So imagine being the manager and you get the Champions League for the first time, and the financial director is coming to saying you're going to have to sell one of your best midfield players you've had for many a year.
Most consistent, and
other people would want to buy because financial fair play. And you're going into the Champions League where if I was him, I'd be saying I need at least 5 top quality players brought in this year, as well as the players I've already got. I don't want to lose any of them, but I want to have 5 added on to cope, because otherwise he's going to lose his job. That's how bad it is, because everyone's going to go, oh, he's, one season, he's gone up now, you're not there anymore. He's like, we've got this, that. You know what I mean? It happened to Dean Smith when he lost too many key players, particularly Jack Grealish.
Yeah. I said Diaby there, but it is
Diaby going, he was a quality last year. I was very impressed with that signing.
But they were playing in Europe last year though, so they've got some experience of it.
And that's what I said. Unai Emery has got the experience as a manager. They've got experience of playing Thursday, Sunday. They should have won that conference league really with the quality that they had. So it's going to be interesting to see if the lads can perform in the Champions League on that big stage with more games, as well as then do it in the Premier League. And I think what he did is he sort of prioritised the Premier League more last year as a manager. He didn't do Champions
League though, did he? He kept winning the Europa League.
But then you go into the Champions League the next year, don't you, with your club? So, and he never really, and then he'd drop into the Europa.
That was Seville, wasn't it?
Yeah. Then he'd drop into the Europa and then win it again. Yeah. And that's how they do, because the third place playoff. So I don't know how it works this time.
Was he the manager at Seville when we played him at home at Bolton, or was that too early?
No, that was too early.
Too early, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Villa fans will be pissed that you've put them in 8th.
Yeah, no. I honestly,
only because of the demand.
Yeah.
Not the squads. It's just they're not buying enough.
I actually think between Newcastle, I'd say the top 3 are going to be the top 3.
Yeah.
And then from Newcastle down to Villa, that could all change. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can have any of them all change round. I actually couldn't go. That's what I truly believe.
Yeah.
But I think because Newcastle haven't got that new manager, they're settled. They've got all the players coming back. He's on fire. They've got. They're going to sign Gay. It looks like. I think they look the more settled out of the lot. And I think obviously Chelsea new manager, Manchester United, you never know what we're going to get from them. But I think Villa fans can feel aggrieved for being there, but I feel that they can finish 4th or 5th.
None of it will end up like this at the end of the season. If we get,
what do we know?
Listen. I think if we get 4 right, we've done well. We get 4 right, we'll be doing all right.
If that's the top 8, we should be really happy.
Right. We need to whiz through, but I don't want to give.
We should be taken on by the betting company if we get them right.
We'll get them all believing the wrong stuff.
Right, we need to whiz through them a bit before this becomes a mammoth episode. But I also don't want to do anybody any disservice there. Fulham look really interesting. Smith Rowe's a really good signing, and then you've got West Ham after that in 10th.
Well, let me just Fulham. He's consistently done a great job in taking them there and getting them there. The research we did is the fact that by season 3, you become established by your ins and outs. If your ins and outs have been good, and their ins and outs have been really good, he's picked up players and you know, that have been experienced in the Premier League. He's
Talk
picked
about
up
Scott
players.
McTominay too.
You know,
trying to add into it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's done a lot of really good. I mean, letting Scott McTominay go was a big disaster for Man United.
I can't believe
I mean, he's a leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Became a goal scorer for Scotland and for Man United. Like I mean, so
Big games,
you
big
know,
goals too, and he scored as well.
So I think that he's done consistently well. Like I mean, and I think the centre forward might flourish again this year. Who come from Wolves, who fractured his skull.
The name has escaped me.
Jimenez.
Jimenez!
That's it. Yeah.
Jimenez!
Yeah. So and he might score more goals, and you know. So I think they're a well experienced, decent outfit now.
Okay.
Nathan, I don't want to sit on the fence again here, but I think again from Fulham probably to Bournemouth, them five, they can all turn around again.
Yeah.
Because you could see Crystal Palace how well they finished last year.
Yep.
Brentford, I think, had a really poor season because they had Ivan Toney out for a long time. If he doesn't go, you know, he'll make them better. They've got the lad who's obviously they brought in to replace him, who's going to be injured till Christmas. And then Bournemouth, if they keep hold of Solanke, they've got a good chance. So I think again, them five could all swap and change, and you could see them from 9th to 13th. So it is going to be strange again.
I agree. Yeah,
you agree?
Palace is really interesting because if Gahey goes to Newcastle, I mean, you're a massive Gahey fan. You talked about him non-stop in the Euros. Sam.
Unbelievable. I thought he was absolutely terrific. Like I mean, they got him from Chelsea as well, didn't they?
Yeah, he was at Chelsea. I think, yeah.
So Steve Harris is brilliant at picking them up. You know, finding them out where they are in England, like more and more than like the, you know, getting them from QPR and for them the right money at the right time, and then they go into Palace and then move on. So, but if they get Wilf back.
Yes, I saw those rumours.
You know,
yesterday.
if they get Wilf back on loan, if he's just on loan for a year, you know, he'd be more than welcome back by the Palace fans because he's a bit of a god. Yeah, temperamental, but it's all right. You know,
what level of talent?
Oh, up here, up there. Most fouled player, one of the most fouled players in the Premier League, the final third.
So it would be good if they get him back.
Yeah, so. Bit like started scoring more goals.
Yeah.
And started having more assists as he matured, and I think even now with an experience abroad and then coming back, take him a bit to catch up with the pace of the Premier League again. But you know, it should slot in when you've got somebody that can take the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, from his own half right into the opposition's half. Doesn't have to break the game up at the right time for you under the cosh. The ball will pop to Wilf. Wilf will go, woo. And he'll go from one end of the pitch to the other. So your back four gets out, it gets up on the halfway line, it relieves a lot of pressure, you know, and then you can either do an high press and win the ball back, keep the pressure on them. So there's not many players of that capability that can actually relieve the pressure on the team, and that's what you need. You've heard so many times about teams under pressure just giving the ball back to the opposition. Wolf can get it and just keep it on his own, and then if he doesn't keep it, he ends up getting fouled. You know,
I think it's going to be interesting because they wanted to sign him, didn't they? They didn't want to let his contract run down, and he wanted to get out, and he thought he was going to go maybe to a bigger club in England, and then he's ended up in Turkey.
I think he'll be miserable there.
Yeah, so I think going to Turkey might have got his appetite going and think, I've got to go back to Crystal Palace and prove that I can still do it in England. Not only that, but he'll come back with a bit of humble pie because he's left, you know, and said, I'm going on to bigger and better things. And then he's gone, actually, no, I don't. I like it. I prefer it there. But he's going into a different environment than where he was last time with Roy. He's seen Palace do really well. You know, the managers who come in there has done really well, fantastically well at the back end of the season. And from my friends, the fitness coach there, and from what I've heard from him, he's been really impressed with him. So I don't think Wilf will be going into the same environment. So it'll be interesting to see then how he reacts to that if it does happen.
They sign Wilf and they hold on to Eze and they've got Wharton and they've got Mateta.
Some player, man.
If they hold on to them all, apart from Gahey, then Palace could be there
easily,
they could be pushing.
Up there,
They could definitely be pushing.
Yeah, and it depends if they do let Gahey, if Steve lets use the money to bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Well, they've already got the money in for
Elise.
Elise.
So that's what I'm
50
saying.
or
So
something like
that was
that?
50 plus, yeah. So that'll be 110.
But
Is he going to get that money to spend?
Unfortunately, they always have to let the play. They always have to let the player go and the price.
Yeah.
Because like Steve will have a price in his mind. Wilf never went because Steve had this probably in the end just too high a price for Wilf. Because you've got to remember he got 50 million for Wan-Bissaka. That's really good money for a right back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
But he sold Wolf to Man United
and then
got
bought him back again,
for less, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's doing the same again.
Yeah.
Really like Palace. Really like how they run. Really like the business that they do. So really looking forward to seeing what they do.
But then we've got the
right.
new.
Let's whiz through the.
Well, but Brentford, I would expect he'll do better this year.
Okay.
He'll have learned his lesson from last year, and I don't suppose that the board really back him that well financially.
Okay.
But they'll pick up a player or two here and there, and they'll
be
do
fine.
better.
They'll finish mid-table.
Even without Ivan Toney, because I think they'll still have. They always have somebody from somewhere that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
To come into the club, and that's why they've been so successful.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, if they carry on from where they finished the season, because it was a struggle in the beginning. Brighton's a new manager, so we've left them there. Wolves is a bit of a worry. He went really bad the back end of last season.
But he done a brilliant job, didn't he?
He did.
You know,
but I think they've only won one in the last 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
something like that. I think they won one in the last 10.
To lose Max Kilman, who's your captain.
Yeah.
You know that find a replacement's going to be difficult for him, but he'll be prepared. So they'll be battling and they'll be fighting. I think so.
Are you
I think
putting
that's going to be
outside of your relegation battle.
Yeah,
battle?
I think they'll be fine, which I think is respectable because of the financial restraints what's put upon them.
Same with Everton.
Yeah,
their
same
financial
with
restraints.
Dicey,
they're having to sell again. They've had to sell Onana.
He's done a few
bits and pieces, but that because the club hasn't been sold, that's a real problem.
Yeah.
For Everton financially in the team, you know what I mean, and of course they've forever been down there for too long.
Yeah.
You know, so what is it? This will be.
We're in the best finish under you.
Yeah.
In the last so many years.
Well done, Kev. So it's been a real struggle because the finances have dried up, but it's a very I'm surprised. There must have been some problems somewhere, but if you're not buying Everton with what it's got to offer, because obviously I know by keeping in touch with a lot of people over there that the club is financial aspects, is revenue streams increasing massively with a new stadium to something just for the stadium, something like 75 million a year.
Yeah.
So that's on top of what you get from the Premier League, and on top of what you get with sponsors and stuff like that. Like you mean, so their revenue streams go way beyond 200 million, maybe into 300 million. So if that's not an encouragement, having a new stadium built, done and dusted, having a training ground that doesn't need any development, like Finch Farm's really good.
Yeah,
obviously there's better, but it's good enough. And so everything in the stability side of a new owner means that it's only redevelopment of the team.
Yeah.
But I can't understand why nobody's come to buy it unless there's lots of problems with the due diligence in where the finance is held, where the loans are. Seems to be that's where the problem is.
Do you think is this a relegation battle for them?
Well, if it's not sorted out, I find that it might be,
And also for Forest, Kev, you think relegation battle?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I obviously living in Nottingham, I hope that they stay up again because my boy's there and everything else. So, but I just feel like them bottom 5, so from Bournemouth to Forest, I think they could all sort of chop and change again. I honestly believe the 3 that come up will struggle.
Oh, I hate
and go
it.
down. But I think that could end up being
It was
could end up being 13.
It was the worst 3
Yeah.
last year that we've ever experienced, because none of them got 30 points.
Yeah. And not only that, you had a lot of clubs who got deductions.
I'm not saying that's the club's fault. They put up a great fight on
Yeah.
them, particularly Luton for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the 3 clubs in themselves, apart from Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester, have had huge credibility in the Premier League. In the recent future, Ipswich have come far too quickly for me. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because
love Ipswich.
It would be lovely that they actually do it. Like I mean, so
To be fair, like they've done fantastically well. Southampton. I know Calder and Russell Martin done a fantastic job there, getting them to where they are. Obviously, Kieran met him on a good few occasions, and really, really good. And when I've been down there watching our 21s, or watching West Ham's 21s and 18s and stuff, and getting the feel of what he's done there behind the scenes.
They might just get out of it because he's experienced it.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
he's experienced getting Forest out of it, didn't he? Like, I mean, when he had to deal with all that.
Yeah.
All that pressure around him, he still held himself well.
Jamie Vardy might still have some goals in him as well.
Yeah, well.
It's whether he can add a couple of players. And
that'll be the big thing.
Who he loses.
We've got the 3 promoted clubs in the bottom 3 currently, but do let us know what you think of the predictions in the comments on YouTube, on Instagram,
well, we'll find out
Twitter,
next week, won't we?
TikTok. 2 weeks. We're back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? Okay.
This is our kind of like prediction nice show, and then we're back in 2 weeks with an incredible guest. We won't ruin the surprise yet. Before we finish today, we've got a new segment for this season. So last year we used to do quick fire questions, Kev, but they were never quick fire, and it started to feel ridiculous.
It was a bit ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yes. So we did this a few times. We called it "Is It True?" But this year we're just going for the straightforward true or false. So I've got true or false questions that I'd like you to both answer.
Yep.
Okay. So first one, Kevin.
Yeah.
Is it true that Manchester United looked at signing you to replace Roy Keane?
Well, there was a lot of rumours, and I think it wasn't about Roy Keane. It was because Paul Scholes, he had the problems with his eyes at the time. So I think Fergie had sent someone, and it was in the papers that he'd done it. So that is true.
Love to have sold him to Man United, even though I wouldn't want to lose him. Like I mean, but like at the end of the day, that would have been. We were a selling club anyway, contrary to how well we did. Like I mean, but if that happens once in a lifetime, it would have been.
Did you know about it? Did you know? Did you speak to Fergie?
No, Fergie never rang me up, mind you, but he never would. He'd have probably gone down the back door, maybe and seen whether Kevin wanted to come first or not, like me, and then rang me after that, like you mean. So who knows? But yes, it would have been. It would have been a great, and we'd have obviously. Kevin was a youth player, came through the ranks, and what money we'd have got would have been reinvested in the club. Then it would have been sad to lose him, but if it had happened, it would have happened.
Okay, these next ones are more opinions. I want you to say true or false. Gareth Southgate will be the Manchester United manager at some point this season.
Yes, if Ten Hag does bad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think if he has a sort of season where he's a bit sticky, I think it's going to be true, yeah.
Okay. Eddie Howe will be the next England manager, true or false?
False.
False, yeah.
Who do you think it'll be?
He should already be it.
Who?
Eddie Howe should already be England manager.
Okay.
They should have appointed him last week.
Okay.
Who do I think it's going to be? I'd love to see Pep there.
Get lost. Get your hands off.
No, I think because he's always said he would love to manage England. And I think this is our generational talent where he'd probably look at it now and he'd be able to develop us and what we want to be. So I'd love to see the FA go all out, and because he's in his last year, go, come on. I'd love it.
As a Scot,
because I don't think
Pep.
I think yeah. What, with Pep or with England?
Both of them. Right. 2 more for you. Enzo Maresca will be the Chelsea manager on Christmas Day. True or false?
I'm going to say true because they've got to stick. They've got to stick. No matter what's going on, they've got to stick with them.
False.
Too many players.
Too much change again. Too lack of support to the man. I mean, only because of what they did to Poch.
but they've got to change some way back.
Yeah, but I
They've
mean,
got to at some point go, actually,
it's clear.
us, and look, and I think this has got to be it.
It's clear the coach has no say.
Yeah.
It's clear the coach is just saying, you coach, just coach, don't do anything else. Don't have an opinion, don't have nothing. You know what I mean? How can you run a football club and the biggest expert you've employed hasn't got an opinion on other players or what you should sell and what you should buy?
Okay. And last one for today. True or false? Sam Allardyce will return to management this season.
I can't answer that.
If there's an opportunity what comes up, we wouldn't take him. Let's be honest. So I'm going to go. I think there's going to be a few clubs who might. A lot of clubs didn't jump early last year and sort of let it play out a bit longer than usual.
If they need me, come and get me.
So true. I'm going to say true.
Yes.
Because I know that he's got the bit between his teeth about it again, yeah.
You can always see it in those eyes, yeah.
I've got itchy feet.
Oh, not from the podcast, though.
No, not from the podcast.
No. That always needs to be involved.
I'll have to do that by Zoom in my office.
We'll come to you, we don't mind. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Good to see you again.
I know. Thank you very much.
Kevin, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Great
boss.
to see you and safe
Thanks,
journey home, boss.
Thank you,
Sam.
Cheers.
Thank you. So 2 weeks we will be back. So that is the week before the Premier League will have started. So 2 weeks we will be back, and it is an insane guest that we have lined up for that week. So follow us, subscribe. Thank you very much for listening to another episode or watching another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football.